Faster than a speeding bullet. More powerful than a locomotive. Able to leap tall buildings at a single bound. Look, up in the sky. It's a bird. It's a plane. It's Superman.
Oh, Superman is what I can do. Clark is who I am.
I'm here to fight for truth and justice in the American way.
You're going to end up fighting every elected official in this country.
Well, Lois, the truth is I'm actually Superman in disguise, and I only pretend to be a journalist in order to hear about disasters as they happen and then squeeze you out of the byline.
You're a sick man, Kent.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to My Summer with Superman, the Superman podcast where we're just gushing about the big blue. I'm Jacob DeNoble.
And I'm Chris Haley.
And we're here with just another great episode. Summer of Superman is chugging along. We are like 4 weeks out from the movie or something like that.
We are at the point now where just last night, as of us recording this on June 26th, last night, the first studio people, the non-people involved directly with the film got to see the movie last night. But there is an embargo on them saying anything about it until July 7th. And I have already been sent people tweets that people have, cryptic tweets that people have put out. I've had people send those to tweets. Me. Cryptonic tweets about, but it all seems to be, the vibe seems to be very positive.
Yeah.
Supposedly, though, the thing I was getting roasted about earlier was Kurt, who some of you listening to this may know as in relation to me of the guy that I did Let's Be Friends Again with, which was a webcomic a million years ago that we'll be talking some about later because it's going to have to do with what we're talking about today, or at least one part. But he texted me about this guy that had already seen, that was one of the ones that got to see Superman last night and who apparently fainted during it out of exuberance, out of excitement or just overwhelmed happiness, whatever you want to call it. And Kurt was like, man, he's like, Kurt's excited about the movie and he knows Superman is like my number one thing. But so of course he can't miss an opportunity to give me a hard time about it, which is, that's how he shows his love and friendship, and I appreciate it. But he was like, man, why you Superman people just got to be so dramatic about everything? And I was like, don't put this on Superman. Like, people that are big fans of anything are like this now because they can monetize it, especially like these influencer type people. And that's why what we're here to do today is we want to get some money out of this. We need to have bigger reactions. We need you people to start sending us money for our opinion.
Man, I am still bitter. My nemesis, and he's not a nemesis, he's just a guy I found annoying on Twitter. Soups, that little weenie.
Is it at The Real Soups?
Yeah, that little weenie.
Matt Ramos, I think is his name. That's who Kurt was talking about.
He's
the guy that passed out.
That guy sucks. So one day he tweeted out a picture of his comic collection. This man who makes a living.
I saw this picture.
It's like
I remember
20 comic books, and like half of them are just like free comic book day issues of stuff. And I'm just like, get out of here. You and your one trade paperback of The Dark Knight Returns and your like free comic book day like, gem in the holograms issue.
It's all the kind of stuff like that you would see on those like when DC will put out those like little, they used to put out those things that were like, here's how to get into the DC universe. This free thing they give away at the comic shop where it's like, you like Superman? Well, check out these trades. And it's all just like the most, look.
It's not even Wizard magazine level deep cuts.
Like, if it was some of that stuff, we'd have a lot more respect for it. Look, I love that I appreciate that this guy is like way into Superman. I don't follow him or anything, so I don't really know what his whole deal is other than, I know what it's like to be excited about Superman. Trust me.
Yeah.
But and I'm not. We're not saying. I think I can speak for you when I say we're not saying that it's like to really care about a thing. You have to have spent a bunch of money on it, and you have to. Whoever has the most merch from the thing means they love it the most. We're not saying that.
No,
but we will be talking about all of the Superman merch that's coming out, and how much of it I bought, how much of it I'm gonna get, and we are definitely going to be talking about some of that stuff. But yeah, I mean, but there is something to be said for like when your whole persona, your whole like livelihood is based around being into this particular thing, and then you don't seem to really be engaged. Yeah, don't seem to be too engaged with it.
And this is uncharacteristically
petty of you.
Yeah, I will admit. This is actually a very minor beef I have.
Yeah.
This is the guy who didn't know that the Odyssey was a book or famous.
He just found out about it after Christopher Nolan's going to make a movie of it.
Yeah, he tweeted it with like a screenshot of like, it's 2,000 years old. And he's like, whoa, how did he ever hear of this thing? The influencer crowd, I can't.
Yeah.
I think it's because they forced me to watch them during Nuvi for a little bit. It was like Maria Menounos used to be my host, and like love Maria Menounos, but then it's like, hi, I'm Straw Hat Goofy, and I've got like a little mic, and I'm talking into a phone. I'm like, get out of here! I don't have any time for influencers. I miss the crotchety blog days.
Yeah. So, I mean, I'm hoping that, I hope I pass out during, I hope I'm just like,
I mean, Chris, if somebody passed out, you're going to die.
I hope so. What better way could there be for me to go than to totally terrify my family and ruin everything for them, make them hate the movie, than to die during it. But it's like, what a perfect way for, if there was any better way for me to go out, I don't know what it would be.
Yeah.
I got to hit right, just like right as the credits end, they notice that I'm just still sitting there with like the Joker smile on my face, just wide-eyed Joker. And they're like, oh, he's not moving. He's not doing anything when we poke him. Oh, wait, he's dead. I wonder if he made it all the way to the end of the movie. I hope I do so that I can go see the next round of tickets that I've already purchased for it.
I have an update for everyone from our first episode.
Okay.
I think I figured out why my theater is being so weird and squirrely with their tickets for this and Fantastic Four. And I'm mad about this too. I'm coming in hot today. I've got a weird
new
energy.
segment on you're mad at influencers and movie theaters. I like it.
They are apparently putting D-Box seats into their XD theater and then a bunch of their other screens. Which have you ever done D-Box first of all?
I have not. I don't know if I've ever even been to a theater that has it.
So that's the thing. I've done D-Box, and I've been in a theater where I'm not doing D-Box, and D-Box is happening. And it's very distracting.
That's the big thing to me about it. It's like when I see the like videos of it happening, I'm going like, I'm trying to see a movie, not go on a roller coaster.
It's fun if it's a movie that you've either already seen or like don't. I think I saw The Avengers for the 5th time in D-Box. And that was great.
I think I'd like that. Or yeah. I'm thinking of movies where I'm like, what are some movies that I think would work in that kind of a format?
And then what's the Regal one that's like even crazier than D-Box? It's the one that like sprays water and like you know, as people may remember, I have no idea what most of the things at the real theater chains are like. Because I am stuck with just this one theater chain that doesn't have anything special except for IMAX occasionally. But I know what you're talking about, though. I have seen, but I don't know what Regal calls it. I've been thinking about going to taking some road trips to see it in different theater experiences that we don't have here. I mean, I was thinking, I was like, it'd be a great episode if we like found a drive-in and saw it together.
Oh my God, yes! Oh, don't even put that in my head.
Superman Under
let's
the Stars.
figure it out. Yeah. Oh my God.
Last time I saw a Superman movie at the drive-in, though, it was Man of Steel. So.
Oh yeah. I can't imagine that being a really hard literally to see at the drive-in.
It was nice because I got to yell at the movie from the safety of my car. But yeah, so anyhow, they've taken up the 3 good the rows that I would always book in are now D-box seats. And also, like any other seat, I'm gonna have to watch people in front of me, like, and like your seat vibrates too when theirs does.
Because it has that built into it, or just because you can feel it through the floor?
Just because you can feel it through the floor. Like, you don't get the motion, but you get the vibration. Which I used to call like free D-box. It was like free box. Like, I'm going to sit behind these guys. It's fine. I think I saw Real Steel like that, which...
I haven't seen that, but it seems like the kind of movie that would maybe work for that. I've heard good things about it, but I haven't seen it.
I think it's Sean Levy's one, like, all the way good movie.
Oh, he did that?
Yeah.
Zombie Nightmare's own Sean Levy? Canadian actor Sean Levy's...
I forgot that that's always your connection for him.
Yeah, it's what I think of every time I see him doing an interview about Deadpool and Wolverine or whatever, or any of the other stuff that he's... I mean, and it's like good for him for making such a bigger career for himself than stopping at Zombie Nightmare, but it's all I can think of whenever I see him. Like, oh yes, you were in the John Mickle Thor starring Zombie Nightmare featuring Adam West. Which, I mean, have you ever... No, I can't. We're here to talk about Superman. I cannot start talking about Adam West or John Mickle Thor.
Well, so while we talk about Superman, what's been going on in the world of Superman? What's the hot goss?
So last week we talked about one of the big things we talked about was the big new theatrical and like promotional bus stop ad thing of that new Superman poster, which is really incredible. But since then they have released another new poster. Now this one is for China.
Yes.
But I'm hoping that we'll get there'll be a US version of it as well, because it is absolutely incredible. And I'm just going like, I showed it to Vanessa, and she was like, all right, well, which one do you think which one of those do you think you're gonna want to have up in the house? And I was like, what do you mean? And she was like, well, which one of those two do you and I was like, I don't understand the question. She's like, oh, I get it. It's like they've all got to be here. I was like, yes, of course, I'm gonna get them all. Unless I have, unless it's just it's impossible to get them or something. Like, I could go to China. What?
You know what? I wish there was just one poster that didn't have Justice Gang characters on. That was like just purely Superman characters.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Like I am happy that the Justice Gang is here in the movie, but like, there's a tiny part of me that's like, I just want Daily Planet, Lex.
I do.
Maybe that lady who's working with Lex, who's not Mercy.
Miss Tessmacher?
No. Well, oh man, yeah, Miss Tessmacher. I was gonna say the Authority woman who.
Oh, the engineer.
Yeah.
Yeah. Sorry.
I read the Authority. Have you read the Authority?
Oh my gosh, yes. I don't know how well it holds up because I have not read it in forever, but it was. I mean, obviously it was. Also, man, I haven't. I don't know. I haven't heard it yet because the second part of our Superman 78 episode has not come out yet. But I immediately after we stopped recording, I was like, was I being a jerk to Bryan Hitch? I was like, I like his art so much. I was like, I feel like I might have been coming off as like way too rude to Bryan Hitch, like not giving him enough credit.
Yeah,
but I couldn't remember what I said, so I was going, "Oh no, I hope this doesn't come out." And then I hear myself, and I'm like, so mad at myself for being. I was like, "What kind of a weird mood was I in that I was like?" Hopefully, I mean, you've heard it already, right?
I haven't finished editing that part, but I will. Okay. I will take a kind ear to it, and I've already like thought about what I'm cutting out about my diatribe about the real soups. So,
well, perfect.
We can. We're simpatico here.
Well, so the thing is before the Authority, I was like I was working like as a teenager working at like this baseball card shop, like sport card shop that also sold comics. As like
God, what a marketplace.
What a
world we used to live in.
Right? Oh, what a fun. It was a sports card and like sports memorabilia place called Tennessee Card Company. And this place, get this place had like 4 locations around the city. Like there was a time when that kind of thing, like there was a place here in Memphis called Memphis Comics and Records that used to have like 4 or 5 locations. And this place had like 4 or 5 locations. And there was multiple, and there's several comic shops here in town, but the one that has stood the test of time, been here for a long time, is actually just right there by me. It's right across, as I told you, it's right across the parking lot. But Tennessee Card Company, they had mostly sports stuff, but they knew that like, hey, kids, people like collect this stuff too. So they would get anything that was something that people collect. So they did comics. And they did, Pokemon cards, anything that, and just candy and stuff. Just like, what a nice place you could come in. And a lot of them were like, at least 2 of them, as far as I remember, were situated just a store or 2 down from a movie theater in different parts of town. So it was like the kind of thing where if you had time before or after the movie, you could go in and just browse around and like, oh, what a great time in the world it was.
Chris, when I moved into my current house, there was a comic book shop across the street from this beautiful Art Deco movie theater where John Waters has all of his premieres.
Oh, my
next
God.
to a burger and milkshake shop. All within walking distance of my house.
Oh, I can't
After my
even
baby
imagine.
was born, comic book shop went out of business without any warning.
Oh.
And broke my heart.
Oh.
And now I'm just sad because my dreams of getting comic books and eating burgers and milkshakes and seeing movies is now. It still lives, but I just have to drive a little further to do it.
Yeah. What? And wait, why on earth was I talking about Tennessee Card Company? Oh, the Authority.
You were working there. Authority, yes.
Yes, the Authority. So the thing is before the Authority was when Warren Ellis and Bryan Hitch, I think Warren Ellis took over first, but he took over Stormwatch first because it was like, it was like nothing was really going on with it. Yeah. And that was where he introduced like Midnighter and Apollo and a bunch of the characters that would end up being the Authority.
Yeah.
But so when that started, I was reading everything because I was working at this place. I mean, I was only there like on the weekends because I was like 16. But it was basically I was just working there to be able to afford the things that I bought there.
Yep.
And I got like a 20% discount or something for working there. I think when I started, actually, I couldn't even drive. Like they just needed someone they didn't have to pay much, and they were like, he's a good kid. He seems like a good nerdy kid. But Stormwatch was so cool, and it was that the 2 of them together, and I was like, oh, this is really. And at the time, it was just like nothing else is like this. And so then when that became Authority, I was like already in there at like ground zero to be excited for it. So I have read it and I love it in my memory of it, but I have not gone back to it in a long time.
That's how a lot of those 2000s comics end up.
I have a feeling it'll probably be some stuff where I'm like, ooh, in there. But I think that obviously, like Warren Ellis has been sort of not totally canceled because he's still getting work and stuff, I think.
But should be.
That also kind of colors it. And then, the devastating takedown I had of Bryan Hitch last week, that probably, no. I still am feeling, like, I've been thinking about that all week, just going like, oh, I hope I didn't say too much. I didn't say anything actually bad because I love Bryan Hitch. I love his stuff,
I wrote a letter into Wizard Magazine about how much I loved the Ultimates. I was like,
how long has it been since you read that?
A very long time.
Because that's something I'm like desperate to know how badly it holds up.
I have a hard time turning off the part of me that was like young and excited when those books were coming out. Like, I have a complete Chuck Austen on X-Men run next to me because he was the first writer on Uncanny X-Men when I started buying X-Men comics.
Wow. What a great time to get into it. Really give you a flavor for what these comics are like.
In my head, I'm like, I like Fishboy. When's Fishboy coming back?
Well, wait, I'm curious to know, what did your letter to Wizard sound like?
It was just like, move over Watchmen. The Ultimates is the best comic being published. It was...
Oh, man. Excellent.
They did not publish that one. They did publish a letter I
Bummer.
wrote in complaining about how many like special issues they were doing. It was like
You have
Wizard
to put
X.
it... Do you have this?
I could find it.
You got to find it. You got to put this in the show notes because I got to
Yeah.
read this.
I've been trying to
Also,
find a letter
Folks,
I
there's
wrote
show
to Star
notes.
Wars Insight. Yeah, there's show notes now.
Jacob, once again, taking care of all the hard work of making sure a podcast happens, doing it all great. There's show notes now so you can see what we're talking about, which will definitely come into play in this episode
Yes, definitely.
when we get to that.
I didn't remember what we talked about in the first episode enough, so there's only like 2 links, but it's fine. Yeah, just listen to our newer episodes.
Moving forward, all episodes will have more
In-depth,
detailed show
yes.
notes, maybe. Yeah.
So the poster. Oh my god.
Yes, thank you. Oh my God. Yeah, the poster. So this new poster is fantastic. I get what you mean, though. I see what you're saying, but that's kind of like, I sort of liked that approach about it, especially since that first poster is just Superman.
Yeah.
And then the second one is mostly still just Superman, and then like their tiny little heads down there at the bottom, which, being a throwback to like the old posters, which I really like. So that's why I don't mind it having, the Justice Gang characters and stuff on too, because it's still all focus on Superman. But this new one is cool because it is like, if you haven't seen it, it'll be in the show notes, but he's flying right at the camera, big, and just, it could not be more Superman. But you also see like what a vibrant, full world he lives in a way that does not feel like it's just, I mean, to me, to the average person maybe, but as someone who is like watching, well, I shouldn't say watching every bit of thing that comes out on this, because I am really trying to start limiting some of my...
I'm blocking it.
It's tough, man. It's tough because on the one hand, I'm going, oh, I want to see this so bad. But on the at the same time, I'm going, think about how cool it would have been if you had seen the Hulk show up in Thor Ragnarok and had no idea that was who was going to be coming out of there. Like how the theater would have just lost its mind.
This is how my wife watches all movies, because she instantly forgets any trailer she's ever seen.
What a treat that must be.
I know. I'm always like, didn't you? I'm like, you knew it was in all the commercials. She's like, yeah, no, it's it's like, all right, cool. That's awesome. I'm jealous of you, frankly.
Yeah. It's a wonderful thing to not have the kind of brain that holds on to that stuff and also is like constant. Like for me, it would be the thing where I'm like watching the first time I see a movie, I'm sitting there the whole time, especially if it's something like this where I'm like really looking forward to it. I'm sitting there doing the thing where it's like through the whole thing, I'm just going, okay, like, all right, well, where does that part that we haven't seen that clip from the trailer yet? Where is that going to play into this? And it's like, I don't want my brain to be doing that, but it just starts trying to make the connections to get ahead of it somehow. I don't know what that thing is. I don't, in a person's brain, I don't know why it's like that. I don't care for it, but I'm also scared of what would happen if it ever turned off. So.
Did you see the Jimmy Kimmel clip?
Oh boy! So I
haven't watched
at least,
it.
Okay, I saw the part where it was like Nicholas Hoult talking about what it was like.
Okay.
The first time he met David Cornsweet. Is that the one you're talking about?
Well, I meant the clip from the movie.
I have not watched the clip that they show. Because I saw like a little bit of it, muted. Yeah. And I was like, I don't want to. Yep. I don't need to see that. It looks cool, but you can tell it's a tense scene between the two of them. But the story that Nicholas Hoult tells about the first time meeting David Cornsweet when they're both there auditioning to play Superman.
Oh, interesting.
Did you know about that? That
I did not.
Nicholas Hoult was also one of the last handful of people for Superman. Which, think about how crazy that could be, that then the guy that's Lex Luthor is the guy that could have been Superman. I mean, it speaks to what a talented actor, what a versatile actor Nicholas Hoult is.
Do we know what Lex Clark relationship they're going with in the movie? Like, are they going Silver Age? They used to be friends?
We do not know yet.
Interesting.
I'm starting to feel a little bit like there's a possibility that there's some Smallville connection, that they might have long known each other, but I've also I feel like I've also seen some stuff that makes it seem like that's not likely.
Can you imagine the pop if they played Somebody Save Me at some point in this movie?
Well, I do have to say, you mentioned this on Twitter, and I didn't want to say it to you on Twitter because I was like, I should save that for the podcast because it's Superman related. But there's I read in an interview with James Gunn that he said there are no needle drops in this movie.
Oh, interesting.
And this is his first movie to have 0 needle drops.
Man.
So, but he also could be lying to surprise us.
Here's the thing. I don't want Pocket Full of Kryptonite to play during the movie, but if the credits started with Pocket Full of Kryptonite, I'd flip out.
I would jump up and down with it. Yeah, I would just be like, yeah. But when you said that about Pocket, I saw that thing you said about Pocket Full of Kryptonite. It's like it's the best chance of it being in there with James Gunn doing it, but he said that he's not going to. So, and I inclined to believe him at this point.
We should do a Songs About Superman episode.
Oh boy, could we? And I would be absolutely happy to. But it was really funny. Nicholas Hoult talking about meeting David Cornsweet for the first time, and it's like literally. I won't try to do it. We can put it in the show notes or whatever. But it's a great story because it's like literally the stuff that he's saying about as he's running through what it was like meeting him for the first time. And it's like everything that he says that he was like thinking in his head as he was meeting this guy for the first time sounds exactly like what Lex was probably thinking the first time he met Superman. And I was like, this guy's a natural Lex Luthor because he's just like, it's all stuff. It's like he stands up and it's like, okay, he's a little bit taller than me. And then he shakes my hand and it's like, okay, his hand's a little bit bigger than mine. It's like, and then he says hello and it's like, okay, his voice is a little bit deeper than mine. All right.
God, that's such good Lex. Like that's such a good Lex idea.
Yeah, where it's just like it starts off like, oh, here's this guy. Okay, hi, nice to meet you. And it's like, and then suddenly everything about him is a little bit better than you.
Yeah.
And it's like, this gets into the thing like where I wanted to talk about, like, what do we, like, not today, but at some point I would love to talk about sort of like what makes, because we talk about Superman so much, what makes the perfect Lex Luthor?
I would love to do an all villains ep.
Oh, yeah. Ooh. People can't see this. I don't know if you can hear it, but I'm literally rubbing my hands together.
I gotta write these down somewhere.
Yeah, right? I try to write some of this stuff down when I'm listening back to the episode so I make sure we don't forget it.
Yeah.
But that was a very cool. There's also been there's been a number of new little TV spots with some new stuff. I think there's like a Chinese trailer that shows several new things. And just the problem is like even when I'm just seeing like snippets, and when I say problem, I mean the best possible problem I could ever ask for, is that each new little thing seems like, oh, this is it's something that makes me go like, oh, I love this even more already.
Yeah.
There's a little clip that I saw a GIF of today that's clearly while they're there in Smallville, where Superman and Krypto are at the farm, the Kent farm.
I saw Krypto and some cows.
And he's just like kind of trying to figure out what their deal is and to get them to play with him and stuff. And I was just like, I could not be more excited for this movie. I don't know how it's going to have to work so hard to not be absolutely incredible for me personally.
Yeah.
Now, I have no idea what the rest of the world wants, but it seems like people are excited about this movie that don't even, like people that I talk to that are not people that I know through comics or through anything like that. And they see me reading this book that I brought today, that we will maybe talk about a little bit later, but, that kind of thing. And they're going like, oh yeah, that movie looks cool.
Yeah. My wife's Gen Z siblings are really excited. And I was like, all right, you're into this?
Yeah. It seems like people are really, as we've said, I mean, each passing day, it seems a little bit more and more like the whole world is ready for this summer of Superman.
Yeah.
And I'm sort of, it's also going to be one of those things though where I'm going like, I'm already starting to get a little bit nervous about the sort of like what I'm gonna do after we've seen it.
Yeah,
like, I'm gonna go see it a bunch of times, but then it's just like I'm almost scared to be like, okay, now I'm gonna have to wait how long for more Superman?
Yeah,
this Superman that's finally so good, that's everything I've wanted, everything I've been waiting for, you know, like, and it's
Chris,
like,
I am so worried for you. I'm like, I hope this movie is good, not for me, but for you.
I hope, really what I want, I mean, I want it to be good for, they've already done so much that it's like, I can't believe it just feels like they're making this movie specifically for me. And part of me is scared that means that it might not be for the rest of the world. And so I don't care. But at the same time, I'm like, I want this to be, I'd like to think that this can be a movie that like, obviously I'm putting way too much weight into this. But what else is life for but getting excited about things, man? Like being enthusiastic about stuff. I'm the enthusiast. What else am I going to do? This is my guy.
It's Superman.
It's Superman. This is the guy. And so, what I hope and like what I have hope in my heart this is going to happen is that this is going to be the movie that makes like a whole new like generation of people, but also, and not just like kids, so there's definitely going to be some of that, but like also just make people who have not, older people as well, just go like, this is why this guy is so great. And like I said last week, my hope is that the movie and then the real world will mirror what happens in the movie, and that it makes people realize how much they should appreciate how great Superman is, but also just appreciate that it's like, hey, it's not always easy. But helping people, lifting people up, doing the right thing, even when it's hard, even when some people tell you, that you're stupid for doing it, or that like, that don't understand because they don't want to understand. I would love to see, there was like a new thing that came out today. James Gunn posted today. That's like a Superman related thing, but where it's like, Warner Brothers is paying from like through certain dates. I don't know what it is, but if you go through this one animal adoption service, that's like a big one, like nationwide one. Warner Brothers is paying all adoption fees because the dog that Krypto is based on, James Gunn's dog that Krypto is based on, he got from a rescue place. Maybe it could be this same rescue place, or maybe this is just the biggest one, and this is the biggest. This is the one that has the opportunity to do the most positive,
Mm-hmm.
But they're paying like adoption fees through these dates, like that, like, so, and it's cats and dogs and whatever, and living together, mass hysteria. I couldn't say cats and dogs without thinking of that Ghostbusters thing, but that's a cool thing. Like, I haven't seen any other movies lately going, hey, we'll pay for you to adopt these animals because we're trying to just make sure that every animal has got a safe place to be. Yeah. All these little cats and dogs have got someplace safe to be. And you could look at that cynically and say, yeah, that's just something they're doing to try to get more promotion for the movie. But it's like, if some animals get loving homes out of it, then like, so what?
Yeah, hell yeah.
Like they're paying for it regardless.
Yep.
So my point is just that I'm like, I'm asking too much of a movie to change the world, to make people be better and care about each other more. But
God, what if it could?
But what if it does? What if it changes things? Man,
Speed Racer all over. You think you can drive a car and change the world? It doesn't work like that.
Maybe not.
I don't know what to do.
All I know how to do.
Yeah. Oh, God.
Oh, we'll do a special episode that's just about Speed Racer, because it's like, at some point we gotta like, oh, you want to talk about another movie I could just talk about all day.
Yeah.
But it would literally, it's all just like, look at how perfect this is. Like, anyway, well, let's get back to Superman.
Yeah. Do we want to do our breakdown of the various Superman first looks, or
yeah?
More?
So yeah, I think that's the main thing we're here to talk about today.
The name of the game.
So we're gonna take a look at the 4 theatrical Supermen, and the first looks that we got at their costume, the first public images that we saw of their, the way they were debuted to the public.
Yep.
And the pictures for these, so you can follow along with us, will be in the show notes.
But if you're anything like us, you know what they look like already. Just
yes, you already have these. You have these images burned into your brain. But I mean, I'm hesitant to like sit there and go like, let's explain exactly what's happening or whatever in the pictures, because that's maybe feels a little tedious, especially if people are already looking at it while they listen to this. It's mysummerwithsuperman.com is the place to go for the show
podcast.
notes. /podcast. If we have not already, if we haven't already said that, but let's just start. Do you want to talk about
start.
Christopher Reeve?
Oh God, I always want to talk about Christopher Reeve. We've got Christopher Reeve in the greatest costume anyone's ever had.
Just
standing in front of Metropolis / New York City.
Yeah.
Pointing to the sky. Interesting.
He's not even doing anything. Yeah.
But it's a great look.
It's an absolute great look. You look at that and there's no question that looks like Superman.
Motherfucker stepped out of the comics.
It couldn't look more like just exactly that's what this guy looks like in the comics. Look at him. There he is. There's no they didn't try to change anything. They didn't try to like gussy anything up. It's just this got to look like what this guy looks like.
He's got the spit curl. It looks like an S.
Yeah, he's got it all. He looks like Superman.
Well, we'll do a granular, like, really obnoxious what parts of Superman's costumes opinions episode one day.
Okay.
But
okay.
I love how Reeves' cape drapes directly to the red of the boots.
Yep. It stops basically right there at his knee.
Yep.
He's also got higher boots than you would normally, I think, than you've seen in any other Superman.
Yep.
Including the, I mean, maybe even in the comic portrayal, it's like a little bit taller, I think, than the, I'm sorry, I got lost looking at it, just staring at this picture, and I'm like, wow, look at him. Supposedly, now I don't know if you told me this even, but I heard this recently, that he based this, like how he was posing in this set of pictures. Supposedly Christopher Reeve based like, his thought process for what he wanted to be doing in these pictures, since he can't be flying.
Yeah.
Was he said he tried to base it on the kind of poses that they would put people in like Roman statues.
Oh, interesting. I mean, I see that.
Those kind of like iconic, or very like sort of, I guess, heroic, but also kind of having some kind of I mean, he's standing there in a, blue tights and a red cape with a big yellow belt, and it's like somehow you still take him seriously.
It's because he looks like Superman. Like
he looks like he can throw you into the sun.
There's just no other way to say it. He looks like the cartoon.
Yeah, come to life.
Yeah. God.
But supposedly that was what he sort of based it on, that was like what he was trying to internalize and project out. And I mean, if you listen to any of those like old making of things or like old interviews with Christopher Reeve, you can tell or if his history of like how serious of an actor he was trying to be, how seriously he took the role. I mean, and the weight
that this role has on the world.
Yes. What an iconic character. Look, I mean, I've got to, speaking of changing the world, I'm sorry. I do have to jump to this because the thing I also brought to talk about today, if we got to it when we were talking about our parts of what Superman stuff we've been taking in. Yeah. I also brought Superman, The Last Son of Krypton by Elliot S. Maggin, which was the first in Warner's new series of Superman novels that came out after the movie was such an insanely big hit. And there is a passage in this that talks about what it's like on Earth with Superman, like what a Superman. I mean, if you'll indulge me, if you don't,
I would love to hear it.
I'm going to read a little bit of this to you. And this is another thing where I'm like, you can, as you're reading this, you could go like, yeah, if Christopher Reeve's Superman actually did happen in 1978, it makes you wonder about, like, in a world that feels like both heightened, but also feels like the real world. There's not, unlike this new Superman movie, it's not a world of where there's just all kinds of crazy things.
Yeah.
It feels very much like it's just the very normal world, and suddenly this insane thing has happened where this Superman has appeared.
Yeah.
But the way that this puts it, I was like, yeah, this feels like the most real, because it seems like in so much stuff, Superman shows up and everything is still basically the same. And I have to think that it feels like the world would change pretty dramatically if suddenly a flying man appeared.
Yeah.
An invulnerable. Superman was a public phenomenon without precedent. No other public figure, even in the golden age of monarchy, ever so excited people's imaginations, almost from the time of his birth. From the fanciful reports of a flying baby in red and blue playsuit 20 and 30 years ago, to the public appearance of a teenage Superboy from a lost planet, to the conferring of international citizenship on Superman by the United Nations years ago, this alien had become the most famous man on Earth. If a news show had lots of Superman film, it became popular. If a magazine had him on the cover, it outsold everything else competing for rack space. If he made a public appearance, the locals talked about it for years. Children played in imitations of his red cape. He made skin-tight outfits, especially in red and blue, a recurrent fashion among men not generally given to fads. The symbol he wore on his chest, a stylized S and a symmetrical, irregular pentagon, was the most widely recognized trademark in the world. His crusade against crime, his awesome feats to minimize natural and man-made disasters, inspired millions of people to enter crime prevention, conservation, medical research, and similar fields. He could fly under his own power. He was strong enough to juggle planetoids, indestructible enough to take a steam bath at the core of a star, and he had the ability to see through most solid objects and to hear for unlimited distances. No other human could do what Superman could do. Every other human aspired to be him. He brought with him the birth of an age of humanitarianism on Earth. He reawakened the hope for peace. Now, that's how seriously, I think that's how seriously, to that level, like, that's the kind of seriousness that Christopher Reeve was taking with this character. But at the same time, it's like you see him, if you saw this guy that's in this picture show up in the world and suddenly he's on the news every night and it's like, yeah, this is not a stunt. This is not a thing this is a real guy. And he's really out there changing the world.
Yeah.
I'm like, I think that everything would change.
I'd follow him.
Yeah. Yeah.
Man,
and it's the kind of thing where it's too much to get into in most, in comics and movies and TV shows and stuff. It's like, because it's too much, it's asking too much of the budget and the brain space of a human beings to try to, it would take Superman to write a comic about the world, how the world would change if Superman, down to all these kinds of details. But I've just like I've never seen in anything else like it explain what a profound impact on the world he would have.
Yeah. I almost made the tagline of this show talking about Superman and trying not to cry. And it just, when you read that, man, it hits.
And I read that and I go, what if this movie fixes a bunch of things? What if somehow this movie makes that like spark of goodness, of like wanting of just being better to the person next to you, being next to the stranger next to you, having more empathy for people that you don't know. It's like it feels like they talk about how Superman does best when things are not, we talked about this, that it seems like Superman's popularity ebbs and flows depending on how well the world is doing. And when it sort of seems like when we need him most, that's when he's the most potent.
Yeah.
Like he's the most powerful because when we need him to be. Just like it's the thing of like, it's like the thing they do in the comics. and I'm sure they do this in a bunch of them, but I'm thinking of like some specific ones. But it's the thing of like, well, this thing is impossible, but it's got to get done. So Superman's going to make it happen.
Yeah.
It's like, I'm sorry. It's the power of, oh boy. The words got caught in my throat as I'm trying to not like start getting emotional. But, yeah, that may have been the best tagline for the show. But yeah, man, it just, cause it just makes you go, even if it's just given me that thing, that tiny little bit of spark that it's like, but what if it does?
Yeah.
Like, that's the kind of hope that, like,
what if it
Kurt's
makes...
going to rag on me for this, because that's exactly what he's talking about. I'm like, but I don't care, because it's like this.
It's like the animal shelter thing, where it's like, what if this makes one person a little bit better?
Yeah.
Like, all right, I'll take one non-dick in a world of dicks. Like, I don't think $400 million with marketing is too much to spend to make one person not a dick.
To make one person in the world a better person for the world. That's like a net positive for everyone except Warner Brothers. But it's a net positive for the world. And Superman doesn't do stuff because he gets paid for it or because it makes him a bunch of money or because it makes him popular. It's because he can help, and so he wants to. And it's good to, man. It's the movie's not even out yet, and it's already making me feel more hopeful about people in general.
Yeah,
just the idea, and it's like that's what. Oh boy, yep. But anyway, so the point is, Christopher Reeve looks great in this.
Yeah, he does.
This is a very strong contender, and I would say where we're at now, I think we'll change the scale as it goes. But where we're at now, this is unquestionably the best first look at a Superman. I don't think it's going to change as we go through these, but I will say that I think it's definitely the best one so far that we've talked about.
So after that, we've got Brandon Routh.
It's Routh. I think I heard him once say that it's like South.
Okay, Brandon Routh, Superman Returns, in a photo that I admitted to Chris I posted on my Zanga back in the day.
I'm sure I put it on my MySpace or LiveJournal or whatever I was doing at the time. But do you remember? Now, obviously, we weren't born when the Christopher Reeve picture came out, and I don't think I even saw it until years after he was already Superman to me. So, but do you remember seeing this Brandon Routh one for the first time? Because I definitely do.
I almost certainly saw it the day that I put it up on my Zanga. Like, I think I was at the home computer during my like night of hour of internet usage. Like 9 to 10 was my internet hour.
Jacob's allowed internet time.
Yeah. And, maybe I just finished watching Smallville that day or something. I don't know. But yeah.
This would have been released. The movie came out in like summer of 2006.
Yeah. So this is maybe like
so this could have been 2005.
Yeah.
Early 2006, like back into 2005 maybe.
But it had to be in it. Cool News was probably either that or superherohype.com, which was like,
oh sure, yeah,
I was a big fan of that back in the day. I think they're both just link farms now.
What was now since you posted something about it upon first seeing it, I have to ask what did you post along with it? Like, what were your thoughts on it then?
So I loved it, and at the time, I don't think I had the granular Superman costume opinions that I have now.
Yeah.
So like
a younger, less jaded version of yourself was ready to just accept it with open arms and an open heart.
There was a time I was at my friend's house. We were like 12 and we were drawing pictures of Superman in Microsoft Paint just on his computer, and got into just this big fight because I insisted Superman had gloves. I'm like, what superhero doesn't have? Hey, everybody has gloves. Of course he's got big red gloves. And my friend's like, no, man.
It's not a bad look for him to have big red gloves.
I mean, like strong bad.
Well, I didn't mean boxing gloves. I was thinking more like Captain America, but sure.
So yeah, I mean, so if you haven't seen this, it's Brandon Routh standing in front of some like Art Deco-y architecture. And
it's got a similar feel to the first Christopher Reeve picture, I'd say.
This is very much, he's doing the classic Superman hand on the hips. This very much feels like a costume reveal. Like, it's like,
Yeah.
look at this costume we've made, and here's what the man looks like. And
Yeah.
nitpicks about the suit aside, I think this is a very
Oh, you want me to
effective
start on the nitpicks about the suit?
look.
Okay.
Yeah, let's go.
No, I'm sorry. What did you say?
No, I
Nitpicks
think,
aside.
nitpicks aside, I think this is a very good look, and it very much sells the take that Superman Returns is making. Like, this is a throwback, like, even this, setting behind him, which is like, I don't even know what I'm looking at, really.
Yeah, it's never really. I have to assume that it's maybe something like like how the Metropolis looks in that movie.
Yeah,
and especially like the Daily Planet building. I have to assume. Well, I think that I if I'm remembering correctly, this is just a spot that they found that they thought would look good for him to stand in front of.
And they were right.
But
it does.
Yeah, it strikes a very. I mean, the same way that first Christopher Reeve picture is. They found a cool rooftop that would have a lot of big city behind it. I mean, if you look at that Christopher Reeve picture too, it's like he's just standing on the corner of a building.
Yeah.
In front of a bunch of other buildings in New York. Like, and honestly, I'm like, if anything, we should be worried for his safety there. Because he's on the edge of he's on the ledge
really
of
is,
a building. But it feels like it's intentionally kind of hearkening back to that but I remember where I was the first time I saw this, which I was at the comic shop that I am currently right across the street from. Mm-hmm. And I had just come in, and I think it was on a Sunday even. Could have been on a Saturday or something, but I remember it being like on a weird, it wasn't like, I don't think it was like on a weekday, which seems crazy to think about now that like a studio would put something out for a big movie, like, would reveal this on the weekend, but it was definitely like it had just hit the news.
Yeah.
But this was, pre-Twitter and smartphones and everything. And so I had walked into the comic shop, and my friend Sean, who worked at the comic shop, was like, as soon as I came in, he was like, "Did you see the new Superman costume?" And I was like, "What?" Because I'd been keeping up with it. I knew that, they were working on it. We knew all that stuff, but it was just the big question was like, what's this guy going to look like? What's the suit going to look like? And I was so, just, oh my, show me. Because the comic shop had a computer that he could show me Ain't It Cool News on. And I was like, what's it look like? And his reaction was like, he's like, I don't know. He's like, I don't know if you're going to like it or not. Or I don't know how you're going to feel about it. And I was like, well, I got to see this. So we wait for it to load up, as he pulls it up. And I think the thing that struck me the most immediately as something where I was like, I don't know how to feel about this, is that his boots, his tights, the S, his cape, they're all like burgundy.
Yeah.
And not like the bright, vibrant red that you associate with Superman.
Yeah.
And it's like, and I go, well, maybe this is just in this one picture, and it's like in different lighting situations, it's going to look different, whatever. But I liked how bright, the blueness of the suit. I was like, this is a very good blue for a Superman suit.
Yeah, definitely.
I really like that. But it's like, then the cape looks like it's made out of like pleather or something.
Yeah, it's a weird cape.
Which makes it seem like it's going to move oddly. And it did in the movie, except when it was CGI.
You've seen the gif of the guys puppeting it, right?
Yes. Which I love.
Yeah.
Oh boy, yeah. And that's cool, but you can tell it's heavier. I mean, and all of these things are intentional choices. They did all this stuff. So there was the Superman behind the scenes website, the official Superman behind the scenes website for Superman Returns was called bluetights.net. And that was where there was
internet.
I
miss the real internet.
Right. Where it was like something could be fun. It didn't have to just be superman-movie.com, Warner Brothers. Even though, but anyway. But that was the site where it was like, I feel like it was almost every day there would be like a little production vlog of like, of here's what we're working on Superman today. And it would just be like a little clip of something. But it was like, you would just be going every day to see like, what's new this week? And they talked about all of this stuff in there. But the things that happen, and I still have like, I remember like the USA Today that came out that had like this as like on the front. Like I still have that newspaper where it was like your first look at the new Superman.
Yeah.
And it was, you know, the PR people talking about it. One of the things they said was, and this new Superman, you know, this new suit has got this, and they were talking about some of the features of the, you know, the things hidden in the new suit. Like it's got all these little S's hidden all over it,
yeah,
you know, or you know, imprinted into all over it and whatever. And, all these things. And they were like, and that's all our new Superman, Brandon Routh. That's all him in there. He's really that muscular. And then I don't know where else, I get, it was probably on Ain't It Cool or something like this. Some guy that works in Hollywood, you know, is like a stunt person or a comic or a costuming person or whatever, was like, that's not true. Immediately. They were like, he was like, that's definitely padded up. I mean, which is fine because it's hard to make muscles come through on a suit that's basically made like a wetsuit.
Yeah.
And it's like, there's no shame in doing that, but there's a problem with when your first thing out of the gate is lying about it, when it's like, you could have just not said anything.
Yeah.
You know? And it also, it's like, and the guy that was like this, you know, whatever his connection was to being involved with Hollywood stuff, he was going like, look at this, and this. It tells you like why you can tell this is a padded suit. Yeah. And one of the things he talked about was because the neck is up so high to hide where the muscle suit stops. And now now of course I saw the videos. I remember vividly the videos of Brandon Routh working out for Superman. Yeah. I mean, and he's a huge man, incredible shape. He was a big old dude, and his arms looked great. His chest looked great. I mean, he looked like he got muscled up for this. So that's why I say it's not like he was a scrawny dude under this suit and they just had him padded up with muscle, but it's just like literally, I mean, we saw what Henry Cavill looked like without his shirt on, how huge he was. And he still had in every one of the Superman suits in the Snyder stuff, in any of the DCEU stuff, he is wearing fake muscles on top of his real gigantic muscles, because those suits, to read like a superhero, you know, if you want to see abs on a spandex, or not even spandex, stuff that's like way more going on than just spandex, you got to have something a human body is not going to do that.
This is why we got to go back to the Christopher Reeve costume. Just give me spandex.
But so it's like, so just the fact that it's like their first thing out of the gate with it was like kind of lying about some stuff made me feel weird. Yeah. But then the biggest thing to me is after the red not being red, it's how small the S is on his chest. And, you know, they talked about in the behind the scenes stuff, they're going like, well, you know, we if we started doing it too big, it just kind of started looking like a billboard. And I'm like, yeah, for Superman. That's what we're here for. Yeah. It's the most recognizable symbol, you know, like in the world or whatever. Like,
and I bet because like it's a 3-dimensional S, and like, right. I bet if it was wider, it like wouldn't work with his pecs, you know, like and the cut of the flush.
Yeah, and if it came down too much further, I think this is really what the problems with it was that if they made it too big, it was awkward to move in, or it looked weird when he's moving around and punching and doing things. But also he's like mostly CGI in the movie when he's doing action stuff. I mean, maybe it's been a while since I've watched it, but I feel like there's just a lot of times you can tell when he turns into a digital puppet. And so it's like, well, does he really need to be doing that much? But also you didn't have to make it a big rubber plastic 3D thing that's sitting on his chest that moves weird. Now, before you ask, of course, I do have a replica of this that was made from an actual production mold from the movie. So I know exactly how big this thing is.
That's awesome.
And it's like, even on me, who like I'm fairly tall, but I'm not built like Superman. Mm-hmm. You know, I'm 1 inch shorter than Superman's you know, official height. Yeah, which is you know, has plagued me. Not plagued. I've just been has been a source of disappointment since I stopped growing. Yeah. Because canonically, according to my DC trading cards that I was basing this on as a kid, where I was just going, okay, this is how tall I have to get. Superman is 6'3", and I am 6'2", and that's only Batman's height. It's like, ugh.
Here, I'm 6'1", so like I'm garbage. I might as well be Ant-Man.
But that S being so small really, because I've seen so many since then. Of course, people were immediately trying to fix this thing on the internet back in the old-timey Photoshop days.
Yep.
And since then, I've seen so many even like better ones. But it's like, it's amazing what a difference in your, sort of, for me at least. I've seen some people where it's the exact same design. They just tweak some stuff.
Yeah.
And, and then it's like, wow, that looks so much more Superman-y.
Yeah.
So, and it's hard to...
The low-rise briefs are also a funny choice.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think it's just like
interesting...
it's such a 2000s choice,
Yeah. But now, look.
At least it was an era where we didn't have to worry about whether or not there would be briefs.
Yeah, that's fair.
It wouldn't have even crossed our minds.
Well, this was also, I think, the first... I feel like this was like the first real taste of people having... comic movie stuff, people having costume opinions, like really strongly online. Because X-Men, nerds were upset about it in Wizard.
Yeah.
But they were also like, this is the kind of thing you have to do to make a modern movie. And so we just all ran with it. And instead, they made the comic X-Men look like the movies. And everybody just was like, okay. They wear black leather stuff. Oh, isn't spandex silly? Yeah. Cyclops makes a joke about it. Isn't that fun? Which, and at the time, it's like, yeah, we're just dying to see these characters.
Yep.
Let's have them. We'll take them I'll take the X-Men however I can get them.
When I first saw the X-Men trailer as a 9-year-old, I watched the whole trailer thinking, you guys just ripped off X-Men. Here's a guy with claw. Like, I didn't know they were making a movie. And I'm watching this trailer, which is like, so like, in a world where, and I'm like, this is a scary looking movie, but also, they just ripped off X-Men.
Ripping
and
off
then
the
at the
X-Men.
end, when it said X-Men, I was like, what? I thought you guys were just stealing.
But it's like, even by the time you get to Spider-Man, everyone was just like, oh my God, this looks so much like the comics. It's like such a big step from the X-Men to looking, and to be fair, that Spider-Man does, there's no way you would say that's not Spider-Man.
Yeah.
You see that guy and it's like, that's Spider-Man. I do think that, go ahead.
I was just going to say, I don't remember where I was when I saw the Superman Returns costume for the first time, but the Spider-Man costume reveal, that one that's nighttime and he's crouched on the side of the building.
Oh, man.
Beautiful shot.
Good stuff.
I cut that out of TV Guide and then hung it on a poster board in my room for like a year before that movie came out.
And that seemed like such a big step up that it was like, okay, yes, we can have comic looking superhero suits, but it was like all that extra stuff they did to try to pull it off, to try to, where it's like, okay, the webbing's got to be raised and there's got to be like texture on the suit underneath. And it's like all that stuff I think is like part of, and because that was such a big hit.
Yeah.
That tells you why the Superman Returns suit looks like this.
Yeah.
But it's one of those things too where it's like it makes me go, would I have liked the movie more if his costume had been different? Who could say? But I will. Oh, speaking of, and this is also just talks about like sort of the time that we were in when Superman Returns came out. I remember that with those like low rise trunks.
Yeah.
I remember there was a big, maybe big's not the right word, but it was like, I remember this was something I remember literally seeing at Tower Records on the cover of a magazine with a picture of this Superman. And I remember that there was certainly a segment of the people talking about this movie, that this was a big talking point for them, was that the fear that this Superman was that this Superman was gay.
Yep.
Because Bryan Singer was directing it. There was like this weird like homophobia surrounding Superman Returns, and they were like, I remember even reading stuff on forums and stuff where people were going like, yeah, you can tell Brandon Routh's gay, and it's like, what about this gal that is his fiance? And they're like, oh yeah, they're just doing that for the publicity stuff. She'll be gone as soon as after the movie comes out, then he'll come out, because everybody in this movie is gay. And I was just like, what?
As much nostalgia as I have for 2006, that is not an aspect of it.
Yeah, that's not part of it that I would like to hang on to. That's not, but I remember like even at the time going like, but there was literally in the at Tower Records how there would just be the sea of magazines from all over the place. There was one that was like some movie magazine, or it may have even been. It's possible that it was like a 2000s LGBT type of magazine, or which they wouldn't have called it that back then, I don't think, at that point. But like, that maybe was even saying like, is Superman gay? It was something to that effect, just questioning whether or not this was going to be like a gay Superman or like a gay Superman movie. Or
I found the cover.
Did you really? Oh my God. Okay, so what does it actually say?
So it's The Advocate.
And what magazine is it?
It's called The Advocate. So it is an LGBT magazine.
Okay.
Who I wrote theater reviews for when I graduated out of college, because they were paying like $50 a pop.
That's awesome.
But yeah, it's I'll send you a link. But yeah,
please do.
The big banner headline is "How Gay is Superman?" And
see, I knew it was something like that, and I'm just being like,
Drudge Report reposted it, and then it became like a big talking point.
And I just was like, that. That was not the conversation I was like prepared to have with people. About like, I was not expecting that to be like what the dialogue, but it was weird. It did like sort of like, I felt like that was like part of the like just an aspect of the public perception battle this movie was fighting.
Yeah.
Oh boy. I mean, we're going to talk about that movie eventually, but
but yeah, so it's
just a weird wrinkle to add into it. And I'm like, I didn't want to. I think, especially because like that is so like left the conversation.
Yeah, definitely
with the following two, but it did feel a little bit like I felt a little bit like the stuff with Henry Cavill and the choices they made.
It's a reaction.
Yes, I think it was definitely a reaction to because Superman Returns did not do as well as they wanted it to. Like what happens then? And Henry Cavill and Zack Snyder is what happens.
It's really interesting that like for a decade, Warner Brothers just handed the keys to Batman and Superman to gay directors, and then the next decade they were like, whoa, let's go the exact opposite direction with these.
But yeah, so that's I would say of the two that we've looked at now, the Superman Returns suit is number 2.
Yeah, number 2. All right, and then we've got Man of Steel, which has big-headed Henry Cavill crashed into a bank vault.
That was the thing. So the big takeaway that I remember, that the biggest thing everybody was talking about when this picture came out, I guess would have been in 2012. We've had the Avengers at this point. Marvel has become a juggernaut. They've made the biggest movie of all time. The Captain America is in bright blue, white, and red. Iron Man's full on, red and gold. Hulk's green as the day is long. The characters were looking like the characters.
Yeah.
But at least to some degree, what you would expect. Very. If you know them from the comics, you're immediately going to recognize them. And then this comes out, and they intentionally put him in shadows so that you can't see whether or not he's got the trunks on. because they didn't. It was like they didn't want to. They weren't ready to have that discourse yet. They weren't ready to have that argument yet to let us know. They didn't want us to know right away. They already know they're changing stuff. They're doing some things. But the big discussion and what the comic that Kurt and I did about it was for Let's Be Friends Again, which if I can find, we'll put in the show notes, was that Henry Cavill's hair is so weird and poofy in this picture.
He doesn't even look like that in the movie.
I know, he doesn't look like this in the movie. Now, I do like that it's like sort of a cool action shot, that there's like sparks going off. There's a giant... The scene does happen in the movie where he gets knocked into a bank vault and, just smashes it before leaving to, get back to the fighting. But his hair is like so weird and poofy and not like Superman, not like any Superman you've ever seen, and not like Henry Cavill's hair has ever looked. And that was like one of the things that was so strange, is where I was going, this guy, and not just me, lots of people were going like, this guy has got very Supermanish hair in real life. Why are y'all making him look like this? Yeah. And that continued in Batman versus Superman and in Justice League. The only one where he had like sort of real Superman looking hair, well, I'm a little foggy on what it looked like when he comes back, but I think it's basically the same at the end of Justice League. It's more Superman-y there, but the one that I feel like he looks the most like Superman is the Black Adam cameo.
I haven't seen that yet.
What? What?
Yeah.
I mean, just that I don't mean the whole movie, but I mean like you haven't seen that little clip.
I saw it like just the other day, but I was kind of only half paying attention to it. But yeah, I haven't seen the movie yet.
Okay, well, the movie is funny.
Yeah, that's kind of
it's worth seeing for some stuff where you're just like, wow, they really made this a movie. You know what I mean? Like, and there's one or two parts where I was like, I never could have predicted in a million years that I was going to see this in a superhero movie, especially like I mean, maybe it was dumb of me to not, but I think it's worth seeing.
Yeah. Pierce Brosnan as Dr. Fate looks good.
Yeah. I like, I mean, the movie's not good at all. It's a whole just mess.
It was out for like 2 years before I saw what the villain looked like for the first time. I was like, yeah, this didn't even like come up at any point over the last 2 years of discourse.
In no marketing and nothing. Yeah. Cause it's so forgettable and whatever. But yeah, that goofy hair that he has in this one picture was the thing that I just could not let go of. And so that's like, well, you'll see the comic, but the joke, in case I can't find it, the joke of the comic was that picture comes out and then Kurt's just like sitting there. And then I come in wearing my Superman shirt and suddenly I've got the big poofy hair and then just like, Superman, that kind of a thing.
Yeah.
But yeah, but to talk about the suit itself, and since he does not have this hair in the movie, I don't know, man. What do you think?
So I will say this shot, and this is going to be my big talking point for the next thing that we look at after this, but like, I do look at this and I see what the movie Man of Steel is. In
retrospect, yeah, you really get an idea of like...
They accurately captured the film that they made, and they're like, They're telling you about it. The way that I think Superman Returns does. Superman Returns looks like the movie Superman Returns. This looks like like I look at this.
That's
and I go,
true.
Yeah, it's got this like gray washed out. It's violent.
Yeah,
it's a little confusing because like, so he's crashed into a bank.
It's a little hard to make out what's going on and why.
The fact that it's a bank vault makes you think like, is Superman robbing this bank? Like, if you're smart, you can go, okay, he probably got knocked into this, but at the same time, you're just like, what the hell am I looking at here?
You could think that it was like, maybe this isn't a bank vault, because it's so huge. I mean, what bank has a vault like this in it? Especially in Smallville.
I'm gonna defend that. My mom worked at a bank in a small farm town, and they do have vaults like this.
This big?
Yeah.
This is like he's squatting down some, but this looks like it's like an 8 or 9 foot tall.
Yeah, they're floor to ceiling, babe.
Okay, if you say so, man. I've been into some banks with some big vaults, but not this big. Both in small towns.
I haven't been there since I was 8, so probably to me it seemed huge.
It seemed floor to ceiling as a child, and now you go and it's just like a thick wooden door.
But yeah, it's just, it's a...
Oh, I was gonna say you could think maybe he's busting out of or busting into some kind of big mad scientist's secret lair, or Lex Luthor's hidden lair, or some government facility that's. I mean, you could think something else, but then the fact that it's just a bank, in Smallville is like, well, okay,
and it fits the title, Man of Steel. He's like bending a steel vault. We don't
honestly, know that he did any of this damage.
Yeah. I'm just like, that's kind of how Zack Snyder's mind tends to work.
Yes.
I remember reading an interview, I think it was from Man of Steel, where he was like, if he and Henry Cavill ever got into an argument about like Superman's motivation, they would have a push-up contest, and whoever won that won the argument. And I'm just like, this is so, like, it's A, kind of delightful, but B, so exemplary of how you make movies.
Yeah, it speaks to, well, I mean, it's like, that's a fun thing. That's like, but it's in another context that could be fun, I think. Yeah, but it's seeing how that movie turned out.
If you had told me that happened on the set of Tango and Cash, where like Stallone and Russell,
that's perfect.
Russell, yeah, that's great.
Yes,
but like this is like quite literally might makes right.
Yeah.
Yeah, this costume does not. I don't like the basketball texture. I don't like the desaturated iridescence of it.
Yeah. I think that it's not. I don't hate it. Like, and if the movie had been completely different, I think I'd have a much warmer reception to it. But it's the same. It's emblematic of the way the whole movie is like, seems embarrassed to call him Superman.
Yeah.
It's like, how fast can we get him into a black suit? That it's like, how close to him being in not a bright red and blue and yellow suit. I mean, there's no yellow in the suit.
Kind of in the S.
I mean, if you want to call that yellow, but I mean, it's so desaturated that it's like, it's, I mean, and I'm
milky.
sure there's some, yeah, right. I mean, I think that overall, I think the suit looks good on him. It would be less awkward if he had trunks, because otherwise you just can't help but feel like you're looking at him wearing like feety pajamas. It seems like that's the most important thing I think about the trunks, is that it doesn't, it makes you not go like, well, also this costume though, like literally had lines that looked like they're pointing at his crotch on the sides. So I'm like, are y'all wanting us to look at his dick or not? Like, are we, there's even like, there's that little belt buckle thing, but for no reason there. Because there's no belt, because there's nothing to hold up, because it's just a onesie that, like, that's...
I long ago solved the no trunks looking like a onesie problem, and nobody ever does this with their costume redesigns, and I don't understand
All right.
why. Make the shirt and
Everyone
pants...
get your pencils out.
Make the shirt and pants different shades of blue. It's a shirt and pants. And boots.
But how does it... What do you put at that line where it breaks up?
You can put a belt there. But like,
just to show that the belt is for the pants.
The belt is for the pants. But like, if they're the same color, because they'll often draw it as like a shirt and pants, or they'll often draw it as like one. But like, just make it two pieces.
They used to do in the comics all the time. Or I mean, I don't know about all the time, but it would certainly happen where it's like you'd see Superman. Like I remember there being this one cover. We can find it, but this one cover where he's like he's like on an island or something, and I don't know if maybe he doesn't have his powers or something, but he's got no shirt on.
Yeah.
No cape, no shirt.
Yeah.
But he's got the trunks and the pants and the boots still on.
God.
So it's like, oh, it's a shirt and pants.
That one it's where like, he and Lex are on that planet where Superman doesn't have his powers and they have to box.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
And they're both shirtless. That's fucking rad. But yeah, I don't, I'm just like, have like a lighter blue shirt, darker blue pants. They could still be skin tight, but like, I don't know, that alone removes the janitor footy pajamas to me.
Yeah. I feel like I remember like a Joe Quinones redesign of Superman from, way back in the day that basically did what you're talking about, where it's the pants looked more like almost like a denim blue.
Yeah.
and then he had more of the a lighter blue for the top. And then, bringing in your glove, he also gave him like sort of like, if I'm remembering it correctly, it was sort of, we can try to find this.
Yeah.
Almost looked like sort of work gloves, like sort of like fingerless.
I'm looking at it right now.
Are you looking at it? Okay. Where he was kind of trying to give him more of like, yeah, this is my work outfit.
Yeah.
You know. So I like kind of like the big flowy cape. Even though I don't like that it's so long that it drags on the ground.
Yeah, it should be like the flag.
Yeah, I don't want Superman, the edges of Superman's cape getting all dirty and stuff. Like, that doesn't look like Superman. And then he shows up and he's all like muddy and like, I don't know. Like, Superman
just like hovering 6 inches above the ground so his cape doesn't drag. Sorry, I don't walk
but
anymore.
Still acting like he's walking. Yeah. Just to make it more uncomfortable for everyone. I think that this is a suit that at least I like how big the emblem was, even though they. I don't hate it.
I think less than the Superman Returns suit, if I'm being honest.
I think I would put it above the Superman Returns suit. And ideally this is, I mean, even at the time though, like when they first announced this, I was like, oh, if you put those two suits together, it would make one that I like.
Mm-hmm.
Where if this had the bright blue, and this has got a better red, when you see some of the shots of him like out in the daylight, you go, yeah, that's pretty red.
the few shots of the movie that have any saturation to them.
Yeah, but it's like I like that the red was more of a red in that, but I was like, if then the suit was more of the blue from the Return suit, I like that. I think that suit could have looked. You could have done that suit with trunks, no problem, and it'd be fine.
Yeah.
But it does not. That does not speak to a person who solves problems with push-up contests. I don't think. So I don't know. You'd put it at 2 and move, or I mean, you'd put it at 3 and move returns, keep returns at 2, and I think I would put 78. Oh, can I have them tied for last?
Sure.
They both have stuff that I like.
Yeah.
I don't hate either of them. I don't like them, but they're also, I'm like, well, if my choices are this or nothing, I'm like, well, you get that it's Superman.
Yeah.
The things I don't like about it are what it says. Just looking at it, it tells you the things I don't like about how he saw Superman.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Like, it speaks to all of that.
Yeah.
So
it's effective for what it's meant to be, but it's in service of a movie that we don't like.
Yeah, it's in service of a ideology that I don't ascribe to and don't think it fits Superman. But
So now that takes us to James Gunn's Superman 2025 first look.
Oh boy, man.
This is the only misstep this marketing campaign has made since James Gunn announced that he's making Superman to me.
I completely disagree, but go ahead.
I even seeing everything that we've seen about the film, I don't understand what's happening in this picture.
Well, let me tell you then, because so this is the thing. Now, at first blush, when we first saw this, my opinion on this has evolved over time as we've seen more from the movie. But immediately, I was like, well, man, that guy definitely looks like Superman. And if you look at it, but they did the same. They basically did the same trick where they were going, we're not sure. We've got the trunks hidden too. We don't want that to be what the conversation is yet.
Yeah. But there's a hint enough of them that if you care, you can tell that they're there.
Maybe. I mean, if you do some photo editing to bring the brightness up and really find out, but it's like, you can sort of see the belt, but I think it's dark enough there where you could think it could go either way. At least this was the discourse when it came out.
Yeah,
people were immediately asking, "Is it going to be this? Is it going to be this?" And I remembered people being like, they didn't like how it looked so dark and all of this stuff. But I was going, well, look, it looks like this clearly. Oh, I mean, this is obvious now. We know what's going to happen. It's like, but just in the same way that you were talking about how these other pictures kind of tell you the story of what their take on Superman is going to be. I think that's exactly what this one is doing as well, in a way where it shows it's like Superman. It's like that clip from Lois and Clark. Superman is what he can do. Mm-hmm. Superman is what he does to help. It's not who he is. It's what he can. It's how he can help people.
Yeah.
And it's like this picture presents the idea that it's like this is a Superman who can get knocked around.
Yeah.
Because like his suit's all dirty. He looks tired. He looks like this. It's like, now some people took that as maybe he doesn't look tired, but he's like, here we go. Like he's still a person that's like, even though, yes, he has all these powers, he has all this, that, and the other thing, but he is still he has to go deal with the stuff that Superman has to go deal with. And it's like, maybe he would sometimes, look, I want to help, but I was like right in the middle of this argument with my girlfriend.
Yeah.
And because it looks like that's what's going to be happening in the movie.
Okay, interesting.
At least. Like, I have no idea, but it looks like the scene with him where you see them saying goodbye and you can see what's happening in this picture happening out in the distance in the trailer. It looks like it's the same scene from where they're doing the interview.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Where it's kind of like they're having this argument about stuff, and then like right in the middle of it, all of a sudden, now I got to go do Superman stuff. And it's like, I want to stay here and do this because this is really important to me. But I know if I don't go do this stuff, some people could get hurt.
Yeah.
Something bad could happen. And he's the kind of person that he can help.
Yeah.
And so this picture is telling us, one, this is a Superman who, it's like it's telling more than people, but of course you don't know that until you start seeing more stuff from the movie.
Yeah.
Like in retrospect, I go, oh, because at first I was like, okay, I'm not excited. This does not thrill me.
Yeah.
But I am interested to sort of see where it goes from here. I was like, the suit is clearly not going to be that dark for real in the movie. It clearly looks like it's got some battle damage, which shows this is a Superman who can get, like I said, can get beat up, can get knocked around, is like more of a scrapper, like you said. But it's also the idea that it's showing him, he's not standing in some kind of big heroic pose. He's not flying. He's sitting there putting his boots on to go to work. And even though he's Superman, he's still got to put his boots on 1 foot at a time. And it's like, maybe it's not what he wants to be doing, but he does the right thing anyway, because even when it's at his own expense, even when it's, it's not what he would most want to be doing. And whether that's, he's like, oh, we just made dinner. I was going to, it's like, we got tickets to the, whether it's something like that, or it's something like, I'm in the middle of this argument with my girlfriend and I really don't want to leave this right now because this woman is so, this girlfriend is so important to me. And I'm feeling, from the stuff we've heard from the marketing kind of, it's like, or the interviews with them, it's like he's a little more into this relationship than she is at this point.
Yeah.
And so it's like,
as it should be.
Even Superman is still a man.
Yeah.
Or still just a person. He's one person. And he is still a person that it's like in that new trailer. It's like where he's like, they always get this wrong about me. And it seems like that line in the trailer is like meta to other people's wrong-headed opinions about Superman, that he never gets scared, he never gets mad, he never and the point of him is that it's not that he never feels those things, it's that he feels those things and keeps going anyway and keeps doing what's right anyway, even when it's hard, even when it hurts him personally, emotionally, or like relationship wise or whatever, all of that stuff.
Yeah.
Like he, it's like, it's showing though that he's like, that he's like, I feel like this picture speaks so much to his character and the version of Superman that they're putting forth, in a way, but it's also showing you that it's like, oh, also this is a world where giant, sky laser orbs, huge, bigger than a skyscraper things are like so commonplace in his world that he's just like, oh, this again, as he's putting his boots on.
Yeah.
Like,
conceptually, I agree with you. And I would agree with you wholeheartedly with one of two changes.
Okay.
One, remove the eyeball laser from the background, because the danger in that is just so immediate. To watch Superman seemingly like slowly put his boots on, I don't know, I look at this and I'm like, hey, there's a lot of people presumably in the path of this laser.
Okay, but one, you do see there's also Green Lantern's already there dealing with it.
Do I see that?
Yes, you see the green beam that's shooting the pink orb is Green Lantern.
Okay.
So the Justice Gang is already on a guy with the most powerful weapon in the world on his hand, in the universe on his hand, is already there trying to deal with it. Also, you have to remember, this picture, Superman has super speed. This picture is just catching the absolute, fraction of a second that it takes him to do this.
I'm more just talking about the semiotics of like making this choice to be your first reveal of this film. And
I think it. Now, see, I have a theory on why I think that's great. Also, why this is a great way to go with it.
Here's my other option, though, and this will lean into a lot of what you were saying. Okay. Change nothing about this picture except Superman has a big melting ice cream cone sitting on a table and like next to him, and everything you said. Now I'm like, I get it, because this image is just—it's so hard to parse. Like. Mm-hmm. You don't look at this and immediately go, I get it. Like even you said, when you first saw it, but as you see more things, these things fall into place. And I understand a lot of that, but like Gunn has been so strong at like revealing the first reveal of the S emblem being like, it was like a social media, like half post or something like that. And like everything, even just giving the actors the comics he does to hold when they're taking pictures, you're like, okay, I see this. But then this, you just look at it and you go, I don't know what I'm looking at here. Like if I showed this to my mom, I don't think she'd be like, I get it. Superman. And I think also like, I love the battle damage idea, but like the shot that they have is like, you pay so much attention to the like texturing on the costume that you lose what I think this costume's like very good strengths are. Like I like the Superman costume that they have for David Cornsweet, but when I look at this picture, I don't see the things that I like about that costume. I can only just see these like weird Guardians of the Galaxy 3.
Yeah, no, I mean this picture did not sell me on the costume. But then the first like paparazzi picture of it, of him standing in the clean version of it out in broad daylight. Yeah. And I was like, and then immediately I was like, never mind. Anything I was worried about with like what it looked like is immediately just out the window. Yeah. But what I think, you talk about how smart James Gunn is with like all of the stuff leading up to this. And it's like, to me, this was the perfect first move to make because to me at least, he hasn't said anything about this, so this is all just like I'm guessing based on how he seems to approach things. Yeah, is that you remember we talking last week about how deftly Superman the movie could like thread these needles that are really, really fine, really impossible needles to thread. And to me, this was a thing where think about, this is their first image of Superman. You know that they're, especially with like all the Snyder people, this is going to get savaged by from every which way, no matter what, because of all this vitriol from those people. So it's like, okay, the first thing he shows can't be big smiling happy Superman, because then you're just gonna be, oh, this is for babies, this is blah blah blah. You can't show it. It's like some of these sad Snyder cult people are like, you know what, the thing that's the worst about the Snyder stuff is that like Zack Snyder does not like these people either. He does not like the things that they're doing. Like it's not like he seems like
a really cool dude.
He seems like
I don't care for a lot of his movies, but he seems like a cool guy.
he seems like a pretty decent dude, and like you know, like I really don't have anything against him. It's like I there's stuff of his where I'm like, he's a perfect guy for this. Like, you could have him do this kind of thing, and he'd be a great director for that. It's just Superman is not where I would have put him.
Yeah,
you know, like I think there's other characters that he could be. He could do amazing stuff with. I think he could have done an amazing Batman movie just by itself. Now, I don't know if it'd be a Batman movie that I would necessarily like think represents Batman well. But I think that some of the Batman stuff in Batman versus Superman is some of the coolest. There's not all of it, but some of it is like, I think some of the coolest Batman stuff we've ever gotten in a movie.
Yeah.
I mean, as far as like seeming like, that seems like how Batman would be in that situation or what, you know. But so I feel like he's having to try to go like, and of course, you know, that there was like all kind. He's got it coming from, Gunn's got it coming at him from all angles with like the studio and the PR people and the focus testing people of like, people don't like this is what people didn't like about Man of Steel, this is what people did like about Man of Steel, this is what blah blah blah, you know, just all this stuff that they're trying to. And so if he puts this thing out first that doesn't, like if he had put one out that was just bright, shiny, happy, the kind of, if he had just put the first picture was a kind of Superman that made me ecstatic, you know, that made you and me very happy about it, then I think that there would be the people that are not like us would have been insane mad about it. And so instead he puts one out that kind of, and them seeing us being excited about it online would give them something directly to go towards, to be like, to make, like, to measure their response has to be equal but opposite.
Yeah.
You know, but so then you put out one where it's like the people like us are going, I don't know. Then it felt like their vitriol for it was not quite as high either. You know, because because the picture's kind of dark and it looks more moody, and it honestly it looks more like the Man of Steel, the first Man of Steel picture, than it does like the first Brandon Routh or Christopher Reeve one.
Yeah.
So
I had the thought, I was like, maybe the whole idea was to make this image so weird that nerds like me get distracted from nitpicking the suit.
I don't think it was on that. I think it was just like, because this picture was like this picture not only, it was not just like debuting the suit. It's basically, it's your first statement about what the movie is. And just like the way in that, you know, the Man of Steel one, it turns out, yes, it was a very good indicator for what the movie's like. I think that this one actually is a good indicator for sort of like what we're going to get from this version of Superman. But James Gunn also, I think there's no way he didn't also know that, like, yeah, but in a little bit, I'm going to put out this thing. Yeah, where people are going to start seeing him in the streets soon when we start shooting this. So
and
it's
soon
like,
after this, they had the one shot of like him and Krypto on the moon. That's kind of the All-Star Superman shot.
Oh, that was a while until that. I mean, there was a pretty good gap before that, I think.
Oh, was there?
Yeah. I mean, it certainly felt like there was a long time between those two. But I mean, maybe it wasn't as long. It just felt like a long time. But man, yeah, that. But no, because
then you see that and you're like, oh, I get it.
We didn't get the pictures with Krypto until I think, didn't we not get the pictures with Krypto until the trailer came out that showed that Krypto was going to be in the movie?
Really? I could have swore his Twitter header was this image.
I think that it was. Who cares? The point is, we get the idea. You know, I think that Gunn had it in his mind. He knew, like, down the road, hey, I know what I'm doing. I know what kind of movie I'm actually making.
I'm going to win over the people like Jacob DeNoble later.
Yeah, so. Exactly. I know the two posters that are coming that are going to make these guys, you know, do a happy dance. So yeah, I mean, but then especially now, like seeing all this stuff, and now that we're like really starting to see some of the stuff of him just like moving around in it, both in like normal scenes and in big special effects kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Oh boy, I am just a little bit, you know, it's hard to not be beside myself with excitement. And the suit has definitely, like, it has really grown on me.
Yeah.
With each new thing, which makes me think, would I? But I think that the way that this movie is doing things, though, it's like if you know how like in Batman Arkham Asylum and those games, you know how like serious and dark and whatever those games are, and then you can also get the costume DLC for Adam West Batman in that world.
Yeah,
and I'm like, it makes me think about like, or if you could just, or in 10 years from now when you can just watch any movie but go, but make it so and I want the AI to make it so and so instead of this guy, or change it to where everyone has clown shoes on. If you could, like, I wonder I think that it's more important that the movie, like the story is good, and then it's like the costume will kind of follow from that, like how you feel about it will kind of follow from that. So I kind of think that it's like, if this movie turns out like it feels like it's going to, he could be wearing that Man of Steel suit and I would go, I don't love this suit, but he's so good, it's like endearing that suit to me because I associate it with this guy.
I didn't love the logo at first, but I've already been like completely won over by it now. Like, the more merch I see with it on it, I'm like, I do like this. It looks pretty good.
And that was funny. It was like the and they even like they basically gave it a trial run on the CW Crisis on Infinite Earths, where at the end you get Brandon Routh in the updated version of which, I mean, a suit very similar. Yeah. Sort of. I mean, in that it's basically the same S. Yeah. Just in a different way. But I mean, so for me at this point, it's my number 2. Depending on how this movie turns out, it's the kind of thing where I'm going like, will that raise it in my esteem to where they're like tied? Who knows?
Yeah.
Who knows? Who knows what the future holds, but I'm so excited.
I go chronologically. I think I'm Superman 78, Superman Returns, Man of Steel, and this is honestly my least favorite.
Wow. Podcast over. No. That's like, to me, there's, well, I mean, it's whatever, but there's, to me, I've like, for my taste, there's more to dislike in both of those other two, but without me hating them. Yeah. But I'm like,
I guess it's less the take that it represents and more how directly it's expressing that. Mm-hmm. So like, I don't like the take of Man of Steel, but I look at that Man of Steel image and at a glance know what I'm looking at. Mm-hmm. And this image,
and what do you feel like? What are you looking at? What is it that you're looking at in that? Do you mean like in terms of what the movie is like? Or
yeah, like what they're trying to tell me. Like, this is a piece of marketing, that like we're trying to get you excited about the movie we made. I'm not particularly excited about the movie they made. This image doesn't make me excited about the movie they made, but it does tell me what that movie is. Mm-hmm. And this Gunn
to me, it's just about like which one of these looks the most like, which of these, in what order they look the most like Superman to me. Yeah. And I look at those 4 guys, and they all sort of, I mean, they all look like Superman. Yeah. But 2 of them look way more like Superman.
I'll agree with that, definitely.
Yeah. To me. But I mean, also though, I mean, this is going off these first shots. If you want to compare posters or something, if you take them like these costumes in the totality of the movies themselves, then it's like, I haven't even seen this one yet, and it's just from the commercials and stuff. I'm already going like, well, this is such a better Superman suit. Now I do have questions.
This is probably my second favorite of the movie suits.
Okay. Wait, which one?
The new one, Superman 25.
Oh, okay. Okay. So you're saying just as a suit, it's your second favorite, but as far as in the parameters of telling you what the movie is, this first image.
The first image is a whole image.
And see, to be fair to what you're saying, I don't know that I can like separate out now. I can remember enough to know that like I wasn't like completely thrilled with the suit on the first shot, seeing that first picture, but I was like, I like James Gunn. David Cornsweet is who I wanted to be Superman. Look at him. If you just take the costume out of it and look at that head, and I'm like, that looks like Superman's face. You know what I mean? Yeah. So like, that's where I would come down on it. But then, yeah, once you're talking about the movies, the whole like movies themselves, then it's just like, is not even a question.
Yeah.
Well,
So what have you been Supermaning lately? I understand you've been reading your book.
Yes, I've been reading Superman: The Last Son of Krypton by Elliot S. Maggin, the first in a series of Superman novels by Warner Books. And you said you have not ever read this, and I don't want to spoil too much of this because I definitely think you should read this. Just from like there's stuff, but it's interesting though because I thought that this was maybe going to be just a basically like the novelization of the movie, this first one, and then the second one is the one that's like an all new story. Mm-hmm. Because my only previous like experience with Elliot S. Maggin before I knew about these books was that he was the guy Mark Waid picked to write the or suggested or what. I mean, I don't know if he had that kind of power. Yeah. But like that was who he wanted at least to write the novelization of Kingdom Come. Mm-hmm. Which I had both as a book and audio cassette audio book, and in both I had the hardcover and the I think the soft cover of it. But that was, and I really liked that, as a 15-year-old or whatever. Yeah. But so I thought that maybe this was just sort of like a novelization of the movie that was going to expand some stuff and be talking about, and there'd probably be some things that weren't in the movie this is like. It's definitely not a novelization of the movie because it starts where, I mean, you saw that thing I read you was like, that's from like, in the first like 30 pages of the book or 30 or 40 pages of the book where it's like, okay, this is a world where Superman has been around for a while, but the Superman in this made me think, oh, maybe they gave him the Mario Puzo script to go from, because this came out, the movie came out in, Christmas time in 78. And apparently this book was like right around the same time or very quickly after or something. But Clark works for GBS in this.
But I mean, I guess Maggin was also writing the comics at the time.
Right.
So maybe he just knew.
Well, I mean, I mean, obviously he would know this stuff, but I meant like, maybe that's when he started writing this, they were still going from that other script and he's kind of jumping off from that. Yeah. There's not really, so far there has not really been necessarily any mention of anything that happened in the movie other than the first chapter is about Krypton exploding. Yeah. But the way it happens in this, the way that Jor-El talks, the whole, there's all these conversations with him and Lauren, it's nothing like the movie. Mm-hmm. He's like trying to get her to get in the ship. Oh, interesting. And she's refusing to do so because she's like, no, like, it will be safer for him if there's not the extra weight. It'll be easier for and she's like it's so like there's all these ideas in this. I can talk more about this as the weeks go on, as I get further into it. Mm-hmm. But so far it's like in this, he's got the idea that it's like, Kryptonians are still somehow humans. Yeah. But they're like, he calls it tuned up humans. Like somehow, you can tell there's this thing, and there's like a talk about these ancient, not rituals. What is it? Prophecies. Mm-hmm. On Krypton, and it seems like some of the stuff we're going like, this could maybe seem a little bit like the Krypton and Man of Steel, but where it's like somehow, some way, two members of the human species ended up on this planet that will eventually become Krypton. Yeah. And it's like, and somehow they, to survive, the people over courses of, generations, the people get stronger and more powerful, to survive on this like really inhospitable world. And it talks about a little bit of that stuff. And then it jumps like, and then Krypton blows up. And then it jumps to, and I don't know if they get into it further into the book, but did this posits a world where Albert Einstein plays a huge, crucial role in the Kents finding Superman.
So I'm looking at the Wikipedia page.
Oh, don't! No, you got to save it for yourself when you actually read it.
I'm just looking at it.
Don't spoil all the crazy twists and turns that this is gonna gonna take you through.
Okay. Einstein, his name is mentioned though, so.
Yes, but the thing, what's funny is that like in the whole parts that's talking about, and now I don't know how much more he comes up. He's already had his name dropped in some other parts, but the parts where he's actively the character you're following in the story, they never call him Albert Einstein. Like they thought they were going to get sued or something. Yeah. There'll be a part where they're saying like, oh, he's someone of importance, and he's living at he lives out his days at wherever, like at Princeton or wherever, and there'll be parts where it's like, oh, and then when he takes his knit cap off and people see his crazy hair, then they finally recognize him, and they're like, oh, but that no one ever says the name. They never use the name. They never out. And I was like, I don't know if that's like some kind of a legal thing they have to dance around, but it's very, but it's also, it's an interesting wrinkle. The way that, the way that Maggin plays it out is an interesting wrinkle to the Superman story, completely wildly unnecessary, but fun, you know, like
that sounds fun.
It feels like the way it all plays out feels like very fun Silver Age kind of the kind of thing you would expect to see in an old Superman comic, that like, oh, and then one time Superboy met Einstein or whatever, you know, like but and I wanted to read that that part because I've just like, I'd never heard it put like what an impact he would have on the world, like really go, it's this and this and this, and like, but the idea that Superman like inspires people to go into all these other things, it's like, yeah, it would be great if there was someone that was like so inspirational and so good in the world that it shifted things to people wanting to be better. And that's like part of the thing that like they do say in the movie, you know, that Jor-El says something, he'll give the people something to aspire to. But what's interesting in this is also then Lex Luthor in this is, at this point, he is like super villain Lex Luthor.
Yeah.
And the first time you are introduced to something, or to him actually showing up in it, he doesn't describe it exactly, but it sounds very much like he's describing what he's wearing is the purple and green evil guy suit, like from the Super Friends, where he's got like the bandolier straps across his chest and the rocket things on his boots,
power armor.
No, not the armor, the one where it's like the suit where it's like the high purple collar.
Yes.
And he's but which I think is like, that's probably what he was wearing in the comics at the time, because I don't think he gets that power armor suit until like, I think that George Perez designed that, so I think it's like around Crisis on Infinite Earths time. Yeah. So that sounds like what he's describing. He never mentions the colors, but it's just the way he sort of describes it. I was like, I think that's what he's saying he's wearing. But in this, they get to the thing, which is interesting because this kind of came up earlier in our conversation as a thing where Lex sees himself as a direct balancing act, a universal balancing act to Superman.
Interesting.
Like Lex believes there's no good, there's no evil, there's no right, there's no wrong, there's just balance.
Interesting.
And so how much good stuff Superman has inspired into the world makes Lex feel like I have to be that much worse to balance things out. And I was like, well, that's an interesting it's an interesting take on Lex, you know. I mean, he still seems just as evil, but or just as other Lex stuff, but it's like, oh, it's interesting if that's what he thinks why he's, that's how he's rationalizing it to himself.
Yeah.
But then there's a part in there where he's like thinking about like one of his heroes, Einstein, and how Einstein did this and that. So it's like, and there's been like mentions of stuff with Einstein in other parts where there's like there's a thing where they're at the GBS and there's news coming in, and one of them is about, they're finally going to unseal some secret document that Einstein left, whatever. And I'm just like, is Einstein going to be like all throughout this book? So, I mean, I'm excited to see where it goes, but it also mentions the other fun thing it mentions is that this version of Lex Luthor has paintings in his hideout where his hang glider gang is meeting. He has rocket powered hang gliders in this.
Sure.
Yeah. And he has paintings by, hold on, let me read the list. He has paintings on the walls by Leyendecker, Peake, Adams, and Frazetta. So I was like, so this is a Lex with interesting artistic tastes that are both like fine art and like, I mean, this is no knock on Frazetta. Also, I don't know who two of those people were because it just says the last names, and I was like, there's too many possible painters that this could have been. I don't know which one specifically he's talking about, but I recognize two of those names with certainty, and I'm like, well, that's interesting.
What an odd. Not to
It's hard
always
to imagine.
say Lois and Clark did it well, but in Lois and Clark, Lex Luthor has the arms of the Venus de Milo in his underground.
I remember that. Yes. Oh my God. But can you imagine a big Frank Frazetta painting in
right
Lex's evil office? Yeah, right? I mean, not that wouldn't be awesome, but it's like, it feels like a weird addition for Lex Luthor, but I mean, hey, I'm not going to knock it. So that's what I've been doing. What about you?
So I have like 100 pages left in the Silver Age omnibus. And the one that I read that is really sticking with me is The Day Superman Was a Clown or something like that. And this old billionaire is dying and he has never laughed once. And
this is a Looney Tune.
And he says that if someone can make him laugh, he will give his $1 billion to the orphanage. But if he dies without ever having laughed, a series of bombs will destroy his fortune forever. And so Superman is like, well, we got to make this guy laugh. So Superman comes in.
I gotta do this.
He does.
It's up to me and no one
super
else.
shtick with his powers, and none of it's working. He calls in one of his Superman robots, who that he's always using in the Silver Age, but this one is broken and wants to be a comedian. And Superman's like, oh, I'll get this Superman robot who I can't use for anything else. Like, I'll let him have a shot. And then he sucks at it, and Superman's like, man, I should just destroy you. And then, so then he changes into Clark, and Clark's trying a few things, and none of it's working. And then Clark sees trouble out the window, and is like, there's not enough time. I have to change it into Superman in front of this man. And so he rips off his shirt, and the Superman costume's on. And then the old man's like, Clark Kent is Superman? That's the funniest thing I've ever seen. And he starts laughing. And then it turns out the trouble solves itself. So he's like, all right, well, I'll just pretend like I dressed up as Superman as Clark Kent. And so the money goes to the orphanage.
Hooray!
It was a great. I also read the first issue with Bizarro's World. So
from the 90s or the Silver Age one?
The Silver Age one. So
there was a trade in the 90s literally called Superman Bizarro's World that was I think the introduction of Bizarro into the sort of modern post-crisis or the post-death Superman, I think maybe.
So,
anyway.
So I'd read the first appearance of Bizarro in the Silver Age, and I was still it's oh, he was made out of this duplicator ray. But then I was like, where does this cube planet come from? Where do all the Bizarros come from? And apparently, Bizarro and Bizarro Lois Lane fly off into space. They find a planet. They have the duplicator ray, and they just duplicate themselves enough to populate the entire planet. And then start building evil Bizarro world. Not evil, but backwards Bizarro world. Superman goes there to check it out. He gets arrested for fixing houses because they're like, nothing can be perfect here. And then he's like, crap. And he's like, wait, well, if I point out that something is perfect on your world, will you let me go? And they're like, yeah, sure. And he's like, Earth is round and your planet is round. And they're like, we messed up. So Superman goes home, but not before shaping their planet into a cube so they can all be happy. So
that's helpful of him.
I'd always wondered where that cube came from.
That's a cool explanation for it. What do you remember what what comic that is specifically?
Ooh.
Or when it's from? I mean, Silver Age, but...
Yeah, so it's like 61. It's a 2-part story, oddly enough, which like... And by like 2-part, like over 2 different issues, it goes from like an Action Comics to another issue of Action Comics. And I'm just like, that so rarely happens with Silver Age Superman, where the stories are literally 8 pages, and if they're like 16 pages, they like, it's a 2-part story, but then it's all contained within one issue.
One issue, yeah.
It was really weird. I was like, oh, I didn't know you guys were doing this.
It's amazing how much story it felt like they could fit into the same number of pages back then.
Yeah. But
yeah, things change.
Well, Chris, is there anything else Superman you need to get off
I don't
your
think
chest?
so, man. Well, how much time have you got? Not enough. But that's what the whole podcast is for. No, man. Follow us on the social places. Thank you to everyone that has already like reached out and said nice things about the show or excited about it.
Man, you posted this on Instagram, and I was just like looking at the people. I'm like, that's a pretty good Superman artist. That's a pretty good Superman artist.
Yeah, I mean, not to be a name dropper, but yes, and I'm not going to. You can. I'm not going to do it, even though I said that. I'm not going to drop any of the names. But those people, if any of those people who are some of the best people drawing Superman, the best people to ever draw Superman, as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah, definitely.
We had 4 well-known, like 4 people that are at least in that one comment, in that one post where I was like, hey man, this is 4 great Superman artists right here. Certainly does my heart good to know that they're as excited for us doing this, as we are for talking about Superman.
Yeah.
Or if they're even like a fraction as excited about us doing this, that's still plenty because, but that was certainly, gratifying. And nice to hear, but also, my friend Dan, who wrote into the show last week, he showed me today, right before we started recording, I saw him and talked to him for a little bit, and he pulled out the list that he's working on of all the different Superman on Saturday Night Live bits.
Oh, yes.
And I was like, oh my God, I'm so excited about this. And I told him, I was like, since the episode where we talked about it has not come out yet, I was like, man, just to spoil it for you, Jacob also thought this was a great idea.
Yeah.
And he's like, but after going through a bunch of these, he's like, I don't know how excited you guys are going to be about them once you start going through them. Cause he's like, how do you feel about how most of them are just Superman being the butt of the joke? And I'm like, well, it's Saturday Night Live. It's fine. But so, thank you to Dan for that. Thank you to anyone else. If you've posted about it, I mean, if you haven't posted about it, please do. That's awesome. If you retweet anything or on Blue Sky, we're on there. I'm at the Chris Haley on Blue Sky and Instagram and on Twitter. Jacob, you are at Jacob_Denoble, which is DENOBEL, right?
Yeah, you nailed it.
All right. And that's a good place to find us and more info on this. Man, if you're listening to this and you're enjoying it, please do the thing. It helps. Let somebody know, post about it. Give us a good review on iTunes or wherever you do your podcast. All of that stuff helps. Thank you so much, though. I mean, even just the people that have already done it. If you're hearing this, I can't thank you enough.
Yeah. Well, that's great.
I didn't mean to. I was not trying to take it all away.
I love it. Yeah. Well, catch us back in a week. We'll be talking about Superman.
We will be back. Your podcast pals talking about Superman. Absolutely.
And trying not to cry.
Yes.